Most people spend hundreds of dollars every year trying to keep mosquitoes, flies, and wasps away from their home, while unknowingly walking past plants that could have made their yard far less attractive to those insects in the first place. It's not that bug spray doesn't work, it's that most homeowners are solving the problem from the wrong direction. Here's something most people don't know. A mosquito can detect carbon dioxide from more than 100 feet away. That's not a typo. Your breath alone can act like a homing beacon long before you ever feel a bite. So the real question isn't how to kill mosquitoes once they arrive. It's how to make your yard stop signaling, "Come here," in the first place. And the tools to do that have been sitting in garden centers this whole time, sold as ordinary herbs and flowers, with almost nobody mentioning what else they're capable of. Here's another one worth remembering. A single female mosquito can lay over 100 eggs at a time, and she only needs a container of water the size of a bottle cap to do it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which plants create that effect, where to place them for the strongest result, and which common gardening mistake quietly cancels out almost everything else on this list. That mistake comes later, and once you hear it, you'll probably recognize it in your own yard immediately. Let's start with why insects choose one yard over another in the first place. Mosquitoes are drawn to carbon dioxide, body heat, and standing water where they lay eggs. Flies are drawn to decaying matter and strong food odors. Wasps are territorial, drawn to sugar sources and structural gaps where they can build nests undisturbed. None of these insects care about your yard specifically. They care about resources. And that's exactly what certain plants interfere with. This is also why two houses on the same street with identical weather can have completely different insect activity. One has open trash bins and a forgotten planter holding rainwater. The other has a border of scent-heavy plants disrupting the exact signals insects rely on. The difference isn't luck, it's environment, and it's almost entirely within a homeowner's control. Here's the part that surprises people. A single forgotten saucer sitting under a flower pot, holding water after one rainstorm, can produce hundreds of mosquitoes in under 2 weeks. Not dozens, hundreds, from one saucer. Keep that in mind because it becomes important again near the end of this video. So how do plants interfere with any of this? Many release essential oils containing compounds like citronellal, linalool, or geraniol, chemicals that overwhelm or confuse an insect's sensory receptors. It doesn't kill them. It disrupts their ability to track scent trails they rely on to find food, mates, or nesting sites. That's an important distinction because it explains both why these plants genuinely work and why none of them work as well as people assume. Quick question. If you could only plant one of these around your home, which would you choose? Let me know in the comments. And if you're enjoying practical home tips like this, subscribe, because every week we cover simple solutions that can save you time, money, and frustration. Let's start with the plant most people have already heard of, but almost nobody plants correctly. Lavender is one of the most effective mosquito and moth deterrents available. But here's what most people miss. Its oils are concentrated in the flowers and leaves, meaning the plant needs sunlight and occasional contact to release its strongest scent. Plant it in a shaded corner and you're left with a pretty plant doing almost nothing. Plant it near a window, doorway, or seating area instead, and every breeze becomes a passive barrier working in your favor. The next plant surprises most people, because it's the exact plant used to make one of the most popular mosquito products on the market. And yet almost nobody grows the actual plant. Citronella grass's repellent power comes from the living tissue itself, not just the flowers, which is why crushing or trimming the leaves releases a far stronger scent than the plant gives off sitting still. A candle only releases a fraction of what the living version provides. Give it space near patios or garden borders because it can spread several feet wide, and cramming it into a tight bed quietly weakens the entire effect. Lemongrass shares citronella's active compound, but here's where most homeowners get it backwards. They plant it along walking paths for easy access without realizing its blades have sharp, almost razor-like edges. This is a plant meant to guard a perimeter, not decorate a walkway. Planted along fences or property lines, it becomes a strong outer defense, particularly against mosquitoes drifting in from neighboring yards or standing water nearby. Here's the one almost every home already has in the kitchen, but rarely uses correctly outdoors. Basil doesn't rely on wind-carried scent the way the previous plants do. It works at close range, which makes it far more effective near patios, grills, and outdoor dining areas than out at the edge of a yard. Its limitation is exactly that, range. Move it too far from where people actually sit, and its protection barely registers. This next plant is one many gardeners regret planting, not because it fails, but because once it's established, removing it can be harder than dealing with the mosquitoes themselves. Mint aggressively repels ants, mosquitoes, and even some flies through its strong menthol scent, but planted directly in soil, it spreads relentlessly and can overtake an entire garden bed within a single season. The fix is simple. Keep it contained, and place those containers near doors, seating areas, or trash storage spots where flies tend to congregate. Here's where most gardening advice gets it wrong. People assume rosemary needs regular watering like most herbs, but overwatering is exactly what weakens its natural oil concentration, the very thing making it effective. Rosemary actually prefers drier soil and full sun, making it ideal near patios and walkways. And unlike most plants on this list, it survives winter in many climates, meaning the barrier it creates doesn't need replanting every year. The plant most people assume is the weakest actually earns its place through versatility rather than strength, and it's often the plant experienced gardeners recommend first to beginners for exactly that reason. Marigolds release a compound many insects, including some mosquitoes and aphids, find repellent, but their real advantage is that they tolerate poor soil, thrive in containers, and work well surrounding vegetable gardens or entryways. Their effect alone is subtle. Combined with the rest of this list, they quietly reinforce everything else. Now here's the mistake that undoes almost all of it. Homeowners plant one or two of these expecting dramatic results, when these plants were never meant to work alone. Used as a layered system, taller plants like lemongrass and citronella grass forming an outer perimeter, mid-height plants like rosemary and lavender near patios and windows, and container plants like basil and mint near seating areas. The combined effect is far stronger than any single plant. And here's a myth worth correcting directly. These plants do not create an invisible barrier insects refuse to cross. They reduce attraction and disrupt scent tracking, especially in still air close to the plant itself. In open, breezy conditions, or during peak mosquito season, that effect weakens noticeably. Placement, sunlight, and regular pruning matter enormously. A wilting, neglected plant provides almost none of the protection a healthy one does. Which brings us back to that forgotten saucer. If you planted every single plant on this list but left standing water sitting in one flower pot saucer, a clogged gutter, or a neglected bird bath, you've likely done more to help the mosquitoes than to stop them. Mosquitoes can complete their entire breeding cycle in under 10 days in stagnant water. Removing that water does more for mosquito control than any plant on this entire list. No single plant creates an invisible force field around your home. But once you understand what actually attracts insects and combine the right plants with consistent yard maintenance, you make your home dramatically less inviting. Nature already provided most of these tools. Most people just never think to use them. If this video helped you rethink your yard, subscribe for more practical home and garden tips every week. And if you've tried any of these plants yourself, share what worked or didn't in the comments below.